Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. And not even the bedside, but in bed view of my Kundalini awakening, day 1330. I calculated that out yesterday. 1330 days. I had tried to film a video last night, but my phone storage was full, so it stopped mid-recording. And like all things, I'm like, oh, okay, this one is meant to not go up yet. And I can see why now, because my perspective has changed dramatically in the last hour. Along this journey, actually, before I get into it, I really need to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody who has sent in a donation. Every teeny tiny little bit helps me, and as you can see, I'm not in a very good way. And I want to talk about that because as much as I've shared on this journey, there's a lot I haven't shared. Throughout my sharing, I have routinely gotten back from people gratitude because I am speaking their truth. One of the warriors in the support group said to me the other day that I had the capacity to articulate what they couldn't put words to in their own experiencing. So I'm going to try to articulate and put words to something that I believe others might also be experiencing, not just me. And wrapping my head around it has been years in understanding and figuring out. In the video that I made yesterday, I was talking about autistic meltdowns because I could see the correlation between the episodes that I was experiencing and that as an explanation. I have been trying to put a name or an understanding on what I have been experiencing for the last 1,330 days. Now, not every day, but many. And I've used terminology that comes close, but lacks the full depth of the experience. So I have, through my videos, talked about trauma release as a terminology to explain some of these episodes, which would be a term pulled from the psychological camp. I identify now autistic meltdown is in part another term that could define what is happening, but it's more than that. I have described the term emotional flashback is another term. And all of these terms or releases, purges, all of these terms kind of describe what I'm experiencing, but not fully. So I want to get into that a little bit more today, and I'm sorry, but I am exhausted and very overwhelmed after what is now 3 solid days / nights of these episodes in which I am having. So I would like to talk about these episodes. Before I do, I want to preface it with understanding that on my awakening journey, the path chose me, not me choosing the path. My ego has been terrified, confused, resistant along a large majority of this process. And while I had an amazing warrior remind me yesterday that I shouldn't speak so negatively of my own ego, and that is 100% true, I see the deviation between ego and soul routinely. They are not always in sync. My ego did not choose to have a Kundalini awakening. My ego did not choose to go down a twin flame journey. My ego did not choose to experience what I'm about to talk about today, but my soul did. So I wanted to show the deviation in those two things, because when we start experiencing things in the spiritual realm without any preparation, I never got invited to Hogwarts School of Wizardry. It sure would have helped. And my background, although 30 years in spiritual learnings, was from a perspective of, oh, that's interesting when it happens to other people. I can remember going to the I Can Do It conference in Toronto, put on by Hay House. And one of the speakers, Colette Barron-Reed, was talking about how difficult, I had bought her book, and how difficult it was for her to step into her role as a channel, because most of her life she had blocked those gifts through the use of alcohol primarily. And learning to accept you are a channel is exceptionally overwhelming. It's not something you ask for. It's not something your egoic mind is like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to channel now. Yes, I know a lot of people, go and kind of meditate and try to do that. But it wasn't like that for me. I was happy to go so far into spirituality that felt safe. And at a certain point, I crossed a line. I was pushed over a line that no longer felt safe, but felt terrifying as I started experiencing things that I couldn't understand or explain or control. And one of those things is these episodes. So I can see now so many layers. I can see now, where on the one hand could be described as meltdowns by the autistic community. And I certainly resonate with that as a childhood experience that I had multiple times over. And when I would have these meltdowns, which my mother called temper tantrums, explosions of energy, because I was so, like, my sense of justice is like insane. Like it's if something doesn't seem fair to me, just or kind, I get very emotional about it. And so as a child, being raised by a narcissistic individual, I would call out, or I would feel, or it would become a sensory experience that was just way too much. And I would have these episodes which resulted in me getting severely punished. There were multiple layers of punishment. First came the rage, then came the being smacked. And I don't mean just like a little tap on your butt. I mean bare butt smacking until there was like red handprints left. Then there was the isolation stage where I was sent to my room and ignored for an extended period of time. Then there was the humiliation stage, where the situation would be discussed at the dinner table, and I would experience another round of rage, but this time at my father's. She would get him to, instigate him to participate in raging. And then there was the ridicule phase, which lasted for the rest of my life. When you did something wrong or acted out, I would be humiliated routinely. That was fodder for bullying and humiliation for years. So these episodes that I would have as a child became heavily charged with a large degree of fear around emoting. And that's why I became so traumatized by the process of emoting anything. Any emotion would elicit a response of humiliation and like wanting to die. Like I would rather die than feel an emotion. And so I sought out masking and cigarettes, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, marijuana, sugar, comfort eating, trauma bonds, like anything and everything under the sun to keep me in a state of being safe, not emoting, not expressing. And because of that, I got very fat, sick, and it was bad. It was very bad. Zoned out, numbed, it turned into a total zombie. And when Spirit directed me to basically clean myself of all of these things, it opened the conduit not only to experience emotion again, which in part entailed like having what I thought was trauma releases, which is in part true, which is now in part true that it is a meltdown, an autistic meltdown, in part true. In part true, an emotional flashback. In part true, a Kundalini purge. So you could use a lot of terminology onto what I'm experiencing, but then a new layer of understanding came that made me realize that these meltdowns or episodes of extreme emotional purge were in fact transmuting energy and not just mine. So over the last 3 years, it has become increasingly obvious that it's like I'm an air filtration system energetically for the collective, which is why I've heard countless times at this stage, oh my God, it's like you're telling my story. These words that you're saying are exactly what I'm experiencing. And that's because I am experiencing other people's stuff routinely. And what that looks like is not, somebody gets in touch with me and my ego's involved and says, hey, I would really like you to do a healing on me. No, it's not a conversation that's happening between two egos. It's not even a conversation, because what happens is I can be awoken in the middle of the night, like last night, and all of a sudden I'm in the throes of a spontaneous healing and release, purge, meltdown, fit, and my egoic self is terrified, is absolutely terrified because of my own personal memory of these things. So as a child, my soul was attempting to clear the energy, and got severely punished for that. I didn't have the language. I barely have the language now, let alone the language at age 3. So my spiritual gifts got shut down. And spiritual gifts aren't all, yay, so pretty, I see auras and I see orbs. That'd be lovely. That's not what I see. And more to the point, it's not what I feel. I feel the terror. I see the woundings. I have seen other people's horrific experiences. What has been done to humans over the last forever is vile. It's disgusting. And I will wake up in the middle of the night often because that's when my ego is relaxed enough. It used to be easier for me to cope with these episodes when I was high. When I had a little THC in my system, I would get these episodes almost nightly at about 6:30. I knew to retire into my bedroom, to lie down, to go through, and I knew I was doing a lot of spontaneous healings. When I set out to be a Reiki master, I didn't set out to do spontaneous healings. That wasn't something I signed on for, but my soul obviously did. I quit the use because, yes, cannabis opens you spiritually. I quit the use of cannabis because it opened me far too wide. Like, far too wide. Where I was opening myself to a whole bunch of energy that was darker than anything I could handle and would ever want to. I don't want to experience earthbound souls. That's not my jam. Other people want to go talk to ghosts. Go right ahead. Leave me the fuck alone. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with negative energies, negative entities. I want to keep my space clear. Thanks very much. No thank you for me. But that's why I closed off this wide opening that I had created through the use of marijuana for a couple of years, because I only started smoking in about 2019 when I had quit cigarettes. And I shut that down. I shut what I was experiencing was pushing me closer and closer and closer into a complete psychosis. And, hearing voices, and it was scary. It was enough to make me quit cold turkey on the spot of I need to keep my wits about me and figure out what the hell is going on here. So that was 2 years ago when I had my spiritual crisis. And what I'm experiencing now is my conduit, my body has been made so pure, so clear, that I am transmuting these things. And it's not like I'm conjuring it. It's not like I'm playing with an Ouija board going, come here to me. No, it's spirit has opened me, and my gift / curse is to have these episodes. These episodes are violent. I've not only had them in the middle of the night, I've had them in groups of people where I'm clearing other people's stuff. I used to attend a women's healing group. I cannot do, I had to stop because what I was experiencing was seeing other people's abuses, and a lot of people have been abused. Far, far more than we speak about. A lot of people don't share what happened to them. And, you know, if I was to be blessed with visions of individuals' molestation is not exactly the visions that I want. It's horrific. And in this environment, you know, somebody would be speaking and I would have to like turn around and tears would be flowing down my face. I would be breathing heavily. Anxiety would be, my chest would be pumping, and I would start vomiting. And when I say vomiting, it wasn't like vomit. It was energetic, but it was still enough to like, you know, like it's very unpleasant. So this is part of my shaman's initiation to heal and clear other people's energy. But because there's no conversation about it, it's just given to me for clearing. It has been a very difficult thing for me to navigate because I'm like, one, I don't know whose stuff I'm often clearing, and what got weirder and weirder and weirder through the years is I would have these episodes and my ego mind would be trying to connect it to what was happening in my life, and so often I thought, are these repressed memories that I'm experiencing? Like, did that happen to me? And what I'm understanding now is no, that's not the case. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that I'm experiencing, it's like I am you. I am the person in the past. So like seeing everything through my eyes. It's like I am in you, observing what is happening to you, but I am you, so it is happening to me. And I am in a state of terror. I am in a state of like shaking violently. I am in a state of like needing to ground the energy. So sometimes I have to get up and like stamp my feet and clear the energy down. Or as I said, I'm like vomiting up energy, for lack of better words. And then randomly, out of nowhere, somebody will reach out to me from around the world and be like, hey, I just need to connect with you. And then they start telling me their story. And I'm like, oh my God, it was you that I was clearing. But I never say, oh my God, I was clearing stuff from you. Because like, how do you go, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, by the way, did this horrific thing happen to you? Like, that's not your first line of conversation with somebody. And it's kind of not even, you know, something, I don't even know how to navigate that. You know, and it's happened so many times at this stage that it's kind of like, although I'm still taking time to get used to it, I'm accepting of it, There was one situation I remember very clearly where I woke up and it was like I couldn't breathe. And it was like my lungs had pneumonia or something, and I was perfectly fine and healthy. But physically, I felt all of the symptoms. And a few hours later, not 5 hours later, a woman reached out to me from New Zealand and was, in her mid 60s, dying of a lung disease or suffering from a lung disease. And I was like, oh my God, it was you. It was you that I was clearing. And her experiences were pretty horrific. And I could see them. And I could feel them. And it's insanely overwhelming, these episodes that I have. So on the one hand, soul is using me, my body, edges my ego out and says, I need you to clear some shit. And my ego is freaking the fuck out because it doesn't understand what's happening to it. My inner child wounds are activated, and it's confusing as no get out. All of a sudden in the middle of the night, I'm screaming in light language. I'm doing spontaneous healings. I'm violently erupting. And then I'm left in a state of like utter exhaustion. I have no control over when they happen, who they happen to. Zero. Absolutely zero control over it. People talk about, well, if it's not yours, send it back. Yeah, I'm not given a choice of that. Like, that's lovely. And there's a lot of really minimizing, stupid sentences that people in the spiritual community say that in a way makes me want to like lose my shit. Because what I am going through is not something that I have control over. It is something that happens to me or through me. And whilst it's happening, I have to find tools and techniques to calm, to soothe, which is why I make meditations for others while they're going through trauma releases, aka emotional flashbacks, aka purges, aka meltdowns, aka transmuting of energy. Many of the people that relate to me or resonate with me, and that's why I'm not like super popular, is because it's an energetic thing. People who find me in divine time and divine way because there's an energetic connection. And so my tribe of contacts, which in itself boggles my mind, is also proof that spirit is watching over me and caring for me because it sent me all of you. And I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you. I used to live a life in total isolation to the point where I was diagnosed with agoraphobia. Yet another misdiagnosis. When what really was happening is my spiritual gifts were coming online as I was going through my own healing crisis and had to purge out of myself all of the gunk, the junk, the stuff, which is how I've managed to heal all the things that I've healed. Healer, heal thyself. The role of a healer, or the role of a wounded healer, is to clear themselves so that they can be a conduit in which soul breathes through you to help heal others. The role of a shaman is not a choice. It's not signing up for a course and, getting a certificate at the end of it and taking the weekend off or throwing the energy back or any other things like that. It is opening yourself up to be used by spirit as spirit needs, when and why is beyond your control. These episodes, and last night was pretty brutal. The fear that I was experiencing was very difficult, and physically it takes a toll. And spirit knows when I'm not given an email with a heads up, oh, the next 3 days you're going to be doing a lot of purging, you're going to be doing a lot of clearing. No, I would love to get a heads up. I don't get a heads up. Zero heads up given. Instead, what spirit does is it completely takes my appetite away. And at this stage in my awakening, I'm like, okay, no appetite. I'm not going to eat. I listen to my body, because if I had food in my system while I was going through these episodes, it would be bad. It would be very, very bad. Well, it would result in actual physical vomiting, and nobody really likes to vomit. So I certainly don't like doing it energetically any more than doing it regularly, but it's a little less painful. So spirit completely keeps me empty so that I can be a clear conduit so the energy can flow. I'll be put on a liquid fast. I might get, like yesterday, I ate an orange. That was it. Just to get some nutrition into me, I ate an orange. Or like sometimes I can manage a smoothie, but no, the last 3 days has been absolutely brutal. And I know that there are other wounded healers or shaman that are being initiated into their full power, their full gifts through this kundalini that they're experiencing, that are within my tribes group, that are overwhelmed by the spiritual experiences that they're having. And many of my clients have had times where, like, been in a spiritual crisis because they're so open to energies and not given a handout that says, oh, by the way, these are your skills, this is your gifts, and this is how to use them. There's no manual for any of this. There's also no construct that it fits within the matrix realm of a professional healer. It's not like I can call up people and say, oh, I cleared some stuff for you last night. Yeah, here's your bill. Yeah, please pay me. So when I make my videos or I do any work for people and I get a donation, you don't even understand how much that means to me, because I'm doing healing work all the time. And I've accepted that is part of my life. But again, my ego self, and it's not that I'm trying to be critical, but my poor ego self, I actually have a lot of empathy for my ego, is like, but you're not making any money, but you're totally exhausted, but this is so much fear, this is triggering your inner child, this is overwhelming, this isn't, so the ego is going absolutely ape. I'm sharing this with you now because Spirit is moving me, whether I like it or not. And not in a lot of ways, I don't like it. I'm not a go with the flow person. I would love to have more grace and go with the flow and be more accepting. Spirit has taken one thing away from me after another, after another, after another, till, all my attachments have been ripped away. And those were all my security blankets. And I'm very torn right now between the reality that Spirit is trying to move me, and I'm going to surrender into it, and I'm going to be graceful that I'm being moved somewhere else for my highest and greatest good, as well as the highest and greatest good for the collective, where I am probably going to be doing more healings like this in person. That's where this is heading. Is actually being in spaces with people where I'm going to just have to go with it. And what happens. I'm in talks with people about setting up retreats and setting up in-person workshops. And I want to do all of those things. But I'm also terrified out of my mind. Well, my ego is terrified. The inner critic is activated. The inner child is activated. All of my stuff is still activated. I stepped into my role and my mission before my mind was ready. Sharing my own awakening meant my ego needed to sit down and be quiet, to feel the fear and do it anyways, and to push through. And it's very difficult to live two realities at the same time. The reality that is the spiritual reality, and trying to learn to have trust, to have faith, that Spirit is guiding me where I need to go, that I am protected, that, everything I need will eventually show up, especially when you're right up against the wall financially and you're not managing. And I can, on the one hand, see that, everything happens for a reason. And this reason is to make me, force me to let go of my house, which for me is like a security blanket, to go to the unknown, which is terrifying. Even though, I can see the benefit, I can also feel the fear, feel so much fear. There is so much fear on an awakening, on a Kundalini awakening, especially if you are on a shaman's initiation. So a shaman's initiation means you have to experience all kinds of experiences so you can show up into the world and help facilitate change for others. Okay? You are a conduit for healing, for education, for any number of things. You are a teacher, you are a bridge. A lot of my people resonate with being a bridge. They come from a conventional medical system and they're having these spiritual experiences, and they can see in the conventional medical system where there is missing perspective. And so there's going to be a lot of people stepping into mission, and their mission is to help bridge communities. I know a lot of you will resonate with that. And so that mission requires ego to sit down, to feel the fear, to release all of the attachments that we're quite comfortable with, all the safety blankets, all of the substances. And I've had at this stage so many people say to me, well, why don't you just smoke if it makes you feel better? Or why don't you just... Because I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed. Spirit has made it abundantly clear you need to be a clean vessel. A Kundalini awakening is about cleaning the vessel, purifying the vessel, so that you can be used by Spirit as Spirit wants. It's not a choice that you have, it's a surrendering that you have. You surrender the pizza. Even though you might like pizza. I like pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Spirit's like, no. You surrender the alcohol. I used to love alcohol. I used to love cigarettes. Like, I seriously, I loved smoking. But it's not what my soul needs from me. My soul needs from me to be a clear conduit so that in the middle of the night, I get woken up and have some crazy episode that shifts energy from someone within the collective. So the more I communicate my truth, the more I understand I am a part of the collective. I am not above the collective. I am not your guru. I am not, your leader. I am not, anything like that. That's not what I want. That's not what I'm about. I'm about empowering you to step into your power and bring you back to you, because it's the you movement. You are your own equal counterpart to me. So while we might all have slightly different paths and slightly individualized gifts, collectively, we are empowering each other. So I am happy to be able to provide education, holding space, clearing energy, channeling messages, acting as an oracle. All of these things I'm called into doing, I am happy to do. I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for all financial support that I receive, because a large majority of what I do, I can't charge anybody for. Who do I send the bill to? See? Ego, soul. Soul says, trust. Trust that everything will be provided for you what you need. Soul says, you will be led where you need to go. Ego says, oh my God, please God, please, 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 please guide me. Please, please guide me. Please, please, please. On repeat, continually, because I don't know who I am as a soul fully. I am learning damn fast. I am certainly not the person I once was. Three years ago, I didn't even read Oracle. 4 years ago, I certainly was not having spontaneous healings. I was too, I had to heal my vessel, which is why Spirit was so strict with me. So that I could become this person this person that speaks light language, that transmutes energy, and it's scary. It is scary in so many ways. It's overwhelming. So I understand where many others may not, and that in itself is a gift. I can hold space for people to tell me they're crazy, because it's not crazy to me. There is very little you could say to me that I would think is crazy or insane or anything at this point. The things I've experienced, as well as the things I've already heard from others, very, very little. Very little. So if you're holding things in and feeling overwhelmed, feeling scared, feeling terror, feeling confusion, and you need somebody to communicate with, please feel free to book with me. You reaching out and having a session with me helps me as much as it helps you, because I need the money desperately. And you need what Spirit has to say to you through me. This isn't about my ego. My intuitive counseling is when I'm in flow, Spirit's just going to talk right on through me, blunt, to the point, no nonsense. It's going to give you what you need to do, the tools, the tricks, the strategies. A lot of people don't listen to me, and that's okay. You'll learn the hard way that when you don't give certain things up, it's only going to cause more symptoms until your symptoms get so bad that you're going to go, oh, okay, maybe she was right. Maybe I do need to give up that sugar. Or maybe I do need to give up that wheat or the dairy. Or maybe I do need to squirt sesame oil up my nose routinely. You know, whatever it is, as a medical intuitive, I know what to say to you because I feel it. Spirit lets me know what's going on because I feel it in my body. And it's not exactly always pleasant to feel what everyone else is experiencing. And I don't just feel it like a slight hint of it. I feel it fully. Okay, so I have gone to the hospital because somebody else had kidney stones. That was not fun. I was keeled over in pain. And they ran every single test. And they're like, you're totally fine. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, yes, you are. And there's only so many times you can go to a doctor and get tested for stuff and them tell you you're totally fine before you realize that, you know, you're going to get a reputation of being a hypochondriac. No doubt that's what my doctor thinks at this stage, but I don't go. I no longer really trust the medical system because of my personal experiences. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying use the medical for everything that it can provide you with. If you can get testing, great. That's fantastic. But their lens is this big. Okay, so they're not seeing things through the lens of spirituality, through the lens of energy, through the lens of trauma, through the lens of the environment, nothing. So, you know, understand biology is biology because it looks through a telescope. So if it ain't observable in a telescope, which a lot of spiritual stuff isn't, right? Be forewarned with that. You know, just use your intuition. If it doesn't feel right with you, trust yourself. Trust in you. So I'm going to end today's very long video again with thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the donations right now. when I was thinking about, what could do to save my house, I was like, somebody suggested getting an additional work outside the house. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do that when I'm having fits at 3:30 in the morning, or I'm experiencing energy dance across my body and anxiety or panic attacks? How am I supposed to do that? And the thought of it made my heart go, no, 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 sell, sell. So spirit has cornered me. And this is what happens. If you don't leave or let go of things in natural way, when you get the first nudge, spirit will make it happen. Spirit will force your hand, and my hand is forced. I'm in a financial corner and there ain't no getting out. I'm overwhelmed right now. I need support right now. I need help right now, in every which way that I can get it. The next few months for me are going to be very challenging. The next few months for all of us are going to be very challenging. Pluto is retrograde until October. That means we're getting punched in the face, or like the rugs taken out and hit with, a rug beater or broom to get rid of all of the last stuff in us that we've been holding on to, the last security blankets, the last addictions, the last toxic relationships, that's what's happening right now for the next 6 months. If you haven't let go of what you were meant to let go of, it's going to be a rough ride. So let's support each other, okay? The best way we can, and however you can, whether you're getting paid for it or not, show up for each other. Where you can show kindness and support, show kindness and support. All of my services are by donation. Even if you cannot afford my low income, it says low income. It doesn't say no income. If you have no income, please get in touch with me, and, let's see if there's like something that I can do to help you. And, we can barter, exchange. Maybe you're a Reiki practitioner and you can like send me some Reiki. I need all the help that I can get right now. You need all the help that you can get right now. Let's figure this out as a collective and a community and learn how to ask each other for help. And it's a learning curve for me. I have never been particularly good at asking for help because, one, I didn't receive it. I was often ignored. And so it became, fine, I'll do it myself. Was the attitude. And while that just got stripped away in the last round of ego death, is I'll do it myself, left the building. And hi, I'm vulnerable. I am weak. I need help. I am terrified about selling my house, not so much because I'm selling a house, but because I am bedridden for the last week, and I'm like, how do I even clean? How do I even pack? How do I get this done? How do I get that done? It is, we lose a lot of people on this awakening journey. We lose a family, we lose friends, and then we gain soul tribe. So I am so grateful that there is such a thing as soul tribe. Didn't even know there was such a thing as soul tribe 5 years ago. I am so grateful that there is soul tribe. I'm so grateful for the comments. I'm so grateful for the support. I'm so grateful for the validation, the understanding, the being seen, the recognition, the donations, the promotions, like anything and everything. I have nothing but gratitude for. Let me help you, and you help me. Let's help each other. Peace. In.